Gee, Rachel, you look great.
Thank you.
And hopefully, I don't think anybody can see with my virtual background, but anyhow, this is a dark and stormy in one hand, and I got handy wipes in the other hand. No happy hour in this day and age would be complete without. All right. I think I'll wait a little bit longer here. Yeah, it's a whole new era here. Showing up to happy hour with a drink, drinking some handy wipes. But I went down to Chehalis today and took a thing of handy wipes with me to visit my contractor. He grabbed them from me so fast. He was like, "Oh," I said, "You want these?" He goes, "Oh yeah." So I don't know if they're all right. I think what we'll do is, let me see how we're doing. Yeah, I've got a lot to cover. So I think what we'll do is we'll get started and people can join as they want. And we'll just get going here. I think we're on with everybody. So let's get going. Greetings, everybody, and welcome to Full Service Property Management's very first happy hour for owners. And I was joking earlier, you can't see because of the virtual background, I don't think, maybe you can. I got a dark and stormy in one hand, and since this is the new era, you go to a happy hour now with handy wipes in your other hand. So we're in a new era here. Thanks for joining us. I want to introduce Rachel Hansen. She's my assistant. I've asked Rachel to help coordinate with this, some of this, and get things, help me out with some of this. I want to start off, first of all, I need to tell you, this is our first time doing a webinar. We're trying it out. I'm a great property manager, at least I think I am. I don't know what kind of a webinarist I'm going to be, but we're going to find out here. And we're learning some new features of this webinar thing. And I'm going to launch a poll because I want to find out just exactly how concerned you are about this coronavirus pandemic as it relates to your rental property. So if you could just get on with some of that, we've got a lot to cover here. Yeah, generally speaking, people seem to be, and probably rightfully so, seem to be pretty concerned. And hopefully we'll get a chance here to address some of that. As we'll continue to let that go on, I want to share with you that we have been working really hard at getting this very first webinar of ours right. And I have been for the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've been working kind of full time as a coronavirus specialist. I know more about this friggin' virus than I care to, I think. But I'm going to be able to give you guys a lot of good information, I think, that will, and it's going to be directly pointed at your rental property. I know we're all getting inundated with a lot of information. I'm going to cover some of that too, just so that you know that I know. But generally speaking, you know, it's all going to be focused on that. One of the things that I do want to accomplish today is kind of lighten the burden. We're all, you know, under a somewhat heavy burden as we listen to the news and all the changes that are going on. And I'm going to try to make this a little more lighthearted. It's a happy hour, for crying out loud. It's Friday afternoon. So let's just kind of let our hair down a little bit and start to have some fun with it. So anybody who knows me knows that communication is really important for me. And accurate communication is really important. And I want to tell a story that I think illustrates good communication. And it's about a mob boss out in New York. And he had an accountant who was both deaf and mute. And this accountant had worked for him for many years. And the accountant finally one day decided he was going to up and go. And so he takes off. And before he takes off, he withdrew a couple $1 million from the boss's bank account. And he takes off for Chicago. Well, it doesn't take long for the boss to figure out what's going on and where this accountant is. So he grabs a couple of his thugs and they fly out to Chicago. And pretty soon they find out where this accountant is hiding out. The accountant is hiding out. And they bust into his office. And the accountant's, of course, in his office, and he's got an interpreter with him because to deal with his clients, he needs an interpreter. So the boss is used to this, and he says, listen, he goes to the interpreter. He says, tell him I'm here to get my money. So the interpreter does sign language. I don't, but you get the idea. It says, yeah, the boss is here. He wants his money. The accountant goes, I don't know what money he's talking about. I don't have any money. And so the interpreter tells that to the mob boss. And the mob boss kind of figured that. And he says, listen, just tell this guy that if he just gives me the money, nobody has to get hurt here. I'm not going to do anything to him. I just want my money back. So the interpreter does all of his sign language, tells the accountant, he really wants his money back. And the accountant goes, no, really, I don't have his money. I don't know what he's talking about. So the interpreter tells the mob boss, sorry, boss, but he really doesn't have your money. About this time, mob boss has heard enough. Reaches into his coat pocket, pulls out a gun, holds it to the accountant's head, not my head, the accountant's head, and says, you tell him that if he doesn't tell me where he hid the friggin' money right now, I'm blowing his brains out right here and now. So the interpreter starts going to the accountant. Hey, I think he's serious this time. He wants to know where you hid the money or he's going to blow your brains out right now. And the accountant goes, okay. All right, tell him I'm sorry. Tell him I'm sorry. And I hid the money in the trunk in the building out back. You can find it in the blue trunk. And the interpreter goes to the mob boss and says, he doesn't think you got the guts to pull the trigger. And so that illustrates the importance of good communication. All right. And so when I heard that, I went, oh yeah, this is going to be, this is something I need to remember. So what I want to do is I want to share my screen with you and go into a slideshow that I prepared for you. And first and foremost, welcome to Full Service Property Managers Happy Hour, especially to the people who just were late signing in. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, the federal government just released a $2.2 trillion package. And right after that, the IRS announced that they were going to be issuing a brand new 1040 EZ to help pay for this package. It's a simple one. It's just one line. How much did you make? Send it in. So that's the IRS is just kidding about that. Here's another one. I thought I'd start off with a few little lightheartedness. I'm a little worried about my new tax software. It's recommending I slip across the border into Canada. And if that's your strategy for your taxes this year, good luck. Canada's closed the border. So, but anyhow, moving right along. When I get into situations like this, I'm always thinking about the guy standing in the middle of the dance floor of a bar that's burning down. People are running everywhere, all over the place. There's panic everywhere. And he's yelling, everybody, just remain calm. You know, like, that's not working. All right. My goal here today is to try to help alleviate some of that, all right? Because we all need reassurance, all right? You need reassurance. I need reassurance. Rachel needs reassurance. We all need reassurance. So, and I do want to tell you, I've been studying this virus now for 3 or 4 weeks, and it's going to be okay. You know, you guys, I survived the year 2000 when we thought the whole computer world was going to blow up. I survived 9/11, the mortgage crisis. And in each one of those, we thought the world was going to end. We were looking out our window to find out if we saw any of the sky falling. This too shall pass. Everything's going to be all right. Maybe not today, but it will eventually. We're going to go through the next month or two. It's going to be a little tight because the money isn't going to quite get to us. But I want to assure you, it will be getting to us, pressed down, shaken together, and overflowing. There's going to be some good stuff coming out of this pandemic. And I've been thinking about this. One of the things is that our nation, and especially our world, is going to be well rested, all right? And that's a good thing because people aren't going to be running off to meetings and soccer practices and all that other stuff that fills up a calendar. We're all pretty much hanging out at home. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting a lot more rest these days. Families are getting a chance to know each other again. My son showed up at the dinner table and I said, "Oh, you're still living here?" Not really, but it's kind of like that. You know what I mean? We're getting a chance to invoke healthier living habits. We're, besides just getting more sleep, our diet and other practices are improving that way. Many of us are getting caught up on house projects, the honeydews. I like to remind my wife that you don't have to remind me every 6 months, okay? I'll get to it. But that list is actually starting to drop because of this pandemic. And really, we're all learning how to work from home, which I think actually long-term is going to help industry because I think a lot of companies are going to recognize that they don't need to be leasing out the 30,000 square foot office space, that they can send 10 or 20% of their workforce home and let them work from home. And that I think is going to help certainly those home workers, I think, reduce their stress. Something that you may or may not know about full service property management is that when we got started, or from day one, everybody has worked from home. We don't have any commercial space. So when this virus hit, it wasn't that big of a deal. It's getting people to explore other positive lifestyle changes, and people are now getting on the internet and they're exploring new places to visit when this pandemic does lift and just different things that interest them. So there's a lot of good stuff that's coming out of this. There's a couple of things that aren't so good. There's a chance we might end up with an even fatter nation as people use the fast food restaurants instead of doing their own cooking. And maybe they're getting less exercise. I know I haven't been to the gym in probably 5 or 6 weeks. I'm not getting fatter, but and I liked this little cartoon at the bottom. You have on the one side is Generation X. This other one is Generation Triple X, or Triple XL rather. All right, well, let's get into the meat of it. Enough of fun and games. Let's get into some of the meat of it. In Washington State, Governor Inslee declared a state of emergency on February 29th. Full service property management really became full bore on this on March 10th. The week prior to that, I was watching a talk show host on the news, and that's all she featured all week was about this coronavirus. And I'm embarrassed to say it took me a whole 5 days of watching that. And over the weekend, I was thinking about it. And on Monday, I was chatting with our president about it. And by Tuesday, I sent out a very long email specifying to our staff how we were going to handle this virus, the protocols that were immediately instituted as it pertained to showings and maintenance and dealing with our tenants. So I'm proud about getting an early start on it. I'm kind of bummed that I didn't get an earlier start. 2 weeks later, Governor Inslee realized that people weren't paying enough attention to that state of emergency and declared a stay-at-home order, which put all non-essential businesses on lockdown. Full-service property management was included in that. 3 days later, the real estate industry of Washington approached the governor's office and got him to lift that order as it pertains to the real estate industry, of which full service property management is a part of. And when that order was lifted so March 24th was a Tuesday, we were on full lockdown. We didn't show any properties, didn't do any maintenance for those 4 days. On that following Friday, I lifted the order to our staff, and we began going back to the protocols that we had established on March 10th. And before I get into what those are, I want to share with you this chart. I don't know how well you can see it, but this is a chart that Seattle Times has been putting in their newspaper every day. It's been updated April 1st. This is as of April 1. And if you look in Snohomish and King County here, 6,585 known cases as of 2 days ago. I believe it's above 10,000 now, but I think I'm probably wrong on that. That's a guess. If you look in Snohomish and King County, it's saying of that 6,500, 3,900 of those are right here in the 2 counties that we service. That number was a lot higher earlier. I've been following this chart, and this whole thing was centered right here in dense populations. It just underscores how important the social distancing is, because out there in rural Washington, where, you know, Fred sees his neighbor every week or whatever, she drives by, there was no problem. But now Urbania has brought it out into the rural areas, and now they're starting to see it. What's really encouraging actually is this curve over here. And just a week or so ago, it was heavily on the rise. It's still on the rise, but we're starting to see what you hear in the news, a flattening of the curve. Governor Inslee's stay-at-home order is starting to have impact. It's still going on, but it's having its impact. The other disturbing thing is this pie chart down here. I'm 66 years old, and this pie chart says that something like 92% of the deaths from this virus occur for people 60 years old and older. I'm not only 60, over 60, my wife is, and my mother-in-law is 90. So you can be sure that when we first heard about this virus, I was taking it real seriously. All right, let me share with you some expectations of what you can look at just nationally before we get into the rental stuff. U.S. is once again #1. Worldwide, there are now over 1 million cases of coronavirus worldwide. The largest country, or the country with the largest number of those, is, you guessed it, the United States. Recent count was 276,000, 965 cases. And we're not just #1 by a little bit. Oh no, we hit it big. Second place, it's actually kind of a dead heat between Italy and Spain with 119,000 compared to our almost 300,000. So we killed it on this score. And hey man, we've made America great again. Yeah, but anyhow, I think we're already at 276,000 When I put this slide together, we were still under 100. I've been hearing reports of over a million, in some cases over 2 million. I don't know where it's going to be, but I can tell you the deaths are probably going to be at about 8% of the number of total cases. That seems to be one thing that seems to be a constant in all of this, for better or worse, unfortunately. In terms of the peak of this thing, in Washington State, I was thinking it was 2 to 3 weeks out. I'm thinking it's going to be on the short side of that because we're already starting to see a little bit of flattening. So it may only be 1 or 2 weeks before that curve starts to really flatten off and maybe even go down. Governor Inslee just yesterday extended the stay-at-home order to May 4th. Personally, I think it was a great idea because even though we're peaking, there's still a gob of people out there with it. And we need to be well down that curve or else another follow-up wave will come in behind it. Okay, let's get into the CARES, the Coronavirus Relief Act. Last Friday, Congress passed and President signed a 2.2 trillion, okay, that's with 12 zeros behind it. And I wanted to put it out there so you can figure out exactly how big a trillion is. You may look at all those letters on the side, and while I was doing all my coronavirus research, I found this little thing. If you want to know how Jeff Bezos spells his name, turn the $ into a Z and get rid of the 2's and the zeros. I'm sorry, the 2's and the commas. And that's how he spells his name. It's Bezos. He's not worth the $2.2 trillion yet, but after this coronavirus, he's probably sneaking up on it. Anyhow, here's what that Coronavirus Relief Act includes. And pay attention because it's big. All right. I mean, it's mind-boggling big. 150 billion to the states, of which close to 3 billion is estimated to be going to Washington State. This is just discretionary money. All right. It's not earmarked for anything, just economic stimulus. Another 45 billion is going to the Disaster Relief Fund, which again is pretty much discretionary. Have you been impacted? Oh, you have? Okay, here's some more money. They really don't ask too many questions. 30 billion going to education and higher ed. 25 billion into transit systems. Again, just economic stimulus. Almost 4.5 billion is going to the Center for Disease Control to parse out to the states to help them in their response. And my guess is actually because Washington State is actually ahead of that curve, we may not get a lot of that. New York, Florida, Michigan, some of those states probably will. Another 1.4 billion will be going to the National Guard, again, to help in the response, setting up hospitals, stuff like that. $500 million, 500 million is going to lending to businesses and cities and states over and above what the Disaster Relief Fund and all this other stuff is doing. All right, that's just for starters. In addition to that, 400 million is going to election security so that we can be hopefully assured that maybe the Russians don't interfere too much and that these elections that we are in the middle of go off without a hitch, and hopefully to instill a confidence that it's actually a valid election this time. The CARES Act is also going to expand unemployment. It's going to add on another 13 weeks of eligibility. It's going to increase the checks by about $600 a week. These are checks that maybe some of your tenants are getting. And it expanded the population qualifying for unemployment to include part-time workers, self-employed, and gig workers, whatever they are. So some of you, maybe all of you, have heard that we're all getting money. If your name does not end in Gates, Buffett, or Bezos, you can expect to get a federal incentive check. When is up for it would be a really good poll question, actually. Anywhere from 2 weeks, if you believe Secretary Mick, whatever his name is, up to, I think it's 5 or 7 months if you believe Bloomberg. It'll be $1,200 for a single, $2,400 for a couple, an extra $500 for every dependent child. They're going to base it on either your most recently filed taxes. So if you haven't filed taxes yet, it'll be on your 2018 taxes. If your 2019 taxes will improve on that, it might be better off. Well, I don't know if it much matters. I forgot to mention, there is a ceiling cap, I believe, of about 150,000. I thought it was 198, but just yesterday, I think I read where it was 150. So you might need to research all that. So if you're in that area and one year or the other benefits you, you might want to go that route. At the very beginning of all this, I forgot to mention, big timeout, big disclaimer. This whole, as you know, this whole thing is moving at breakneck speed. It is a very fluid situation. I have been full-time at this for 3 to 4 weeks, just coming up to speed on what the latest and greatest is so that I can lead our team, lead our tenants, help give information to you guys, and really just be a responsible a parent, husband, and property manager. So it's very fluid. This stuff is changing all the time. I'm giving you the latest that I know. When they're going to be sent, anywhere from, like I said, 2 weeks to 5 months. You're probably looking at, I think, 1 to 2 months. It will be direct deposited if you paid or received your other checks, tax checks that way. And then the question is, well, what are you going to use it on? Well, I came up with a couple of good ideas. One is that you can rush out and buy another 75 rolls of toilet paper like everybody else apparently did. I don't get it. It's one of the amazing things. Or if you've had your head in the sand for the last 4 or 5 weeks, you can take a cruise on a cruise ship. I hear that they are selling those tickets really, really cheap. Matter of fact, they were in the news today of a couple of cruise ships off of the Florida, of some people who are wanting to get off. But here's some real possible rental uses from a rental perspective, because that's why you're here, right? One is you can use it for rent replacement. It might be that your tenant has only paid part of the rent, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. And you just need to replace it, and that's a very cool thing. You might have had some repairs that have been put off, because we'll get to that in a little bit too, because we are putting off repairs. And so now you can go ahead and give the go-ahead for making those repairs. You might have some capital reserves. You know, $2,400 won't go real far on capital reserves, but it might help, certainly. And so you can get started on that. The main thing that I wanted to show you, though, is when you look at what $2.2 trillion, I forgot to mention, of this 45 billion, a billion of that is probably going to Washington. So it's going to be close to $4 billion just in what I call discretionary funds going to the state of Washington, of which will be available to you whether you live in the state or not, because you own property, and I'll get to that momentarily. But when you look at all of this stuff, the question is how bad does it look now? All right. Yeah, it looks kind of tough today, but you know what? We're all going to get through it just fine. And in another 4 to 8 weeks, it's going to be, I think, I honestly do believe, I'm not just trying to, pull your chain. We're going to be okay because of all those other crises that we had. It's just that right now, the government is trying to uncork the bottle of money so they can, that's kind of appropriate for happy hour, good analogy. They're trying to uncork that bottle of money and they can get it out to us. That's going to take time. You just need patience and have faith. All right, let's get down into some brass tacks here, all right? What kind of resources are available to you as an owner? Suppose you find out that your tenant is going to be late or not. Most Fannie, Freddie, and most other private lenders have what's called forbearance programs in place already, and they're waiting for your call. And what it is they just hit the pause button. Forbearance is like hitting the pause button on your tape recorder. They just wait up to 12 months. Most of my mortgage companies, I've contacted a couple, and I've just asked for basically 3 months where, oh, okay, we'll pick it back up again in 3 months. Now, it extends the payoff date another 3 months, but otherwise, in most cases, interest does not accrue. It's also available for multifamily properties. There is a moratorium on foreclosures for 60 days. I don't think any of our owners are really that close because they've got their property pretty well managed. But if you are and we don't know about it, well, you got 60 days to forestall that. And there's several options available for short-term loans. If you've got equity in your property, you can tap it with a home equity line or a cash out refi. If you have a retirement plan at work, you can take a loan against that retirement plan. If you have a small business, many of our owners do have small businesses. It's kind of the backbone of American economy. I'm proud to say as a small business owner. There's a couple of small business loans that you ought to be checking out. The EIDL, Economic Impact Disaster Loan, that will be turned into basically a grant up to $10,000. If you're not in line for that, you better get in line quick. And the Paycheck Performance Plan is also a forgivable loan, and you go through SBA, Small Business Administration, for the EIDL, go through your bank for the other one. And then there's another one I didn't even know about. You guys helped me, or the coronavirus helped me in researching this. I found out that the Washington Department of Commerce has a tenancy preservation program. It's mostly designed for Section 8 tenants and tenant programs, which we don't get too involved in much. But I'm going to keep my eye on that because they may expand and start taking some of that $2.2 trillion and making it available. And basically, they will pay what the tenant can't pay in that situation. So I'll be checking in on that regularly. You also have utility payment assistance. If you're paying utilities at your rental property, all of the IOUs, all of the big utilities, and pretty much most of the small utilities, the water companies and such, are providing utility payment assistance. I'll get into that momentarily. And then finally, you can get landlord rent insurance through Avail or Steady. I've got properties. I've never done it. I think there's better options, but it might give you peace of mind. It's always available. All right, here are tenant resources, and we are educating our tenants with this because the tenants, some of them might have lost their job or had their hours cut back. And the immediate reaction, which a lot of us probably had, is gut level. It's like, oh my God, the world's going to end or whatever. Excuse me. So we reassure them, you're going to be fine. One thing I can tell you is throughout all of this, I have not run across any company, 0 companies that have said, pay me what you owe me, sucker. All of them have said, hey, man, we're all in this together. Let's just get through this together. So everybody is doing what they can. All right. And I want to, if that's not reassuring, it should be. All right. And so this is what we're doing for your tenants as well. We're educating them. We're saying, listen, first of all, you're going to get anywhere from $1,200 to $2,400 to however much in just a federal incentive check. So you can apply that to the rent that you're going to owe here. All right. Your unemployment is available to you, of course, but you're going to get an extra, maybe up to $600. And you can start using that to help pay rent. And there's been a moratorium on evictions. All right. So we're not going to kick you out for at least 4 months. That's going to give you enough time to get back to work and get this situation under control, and we're going to help you. The other thing is that effective April 1st, full service property management suspended all of our late fees. We are not charging any late fees to our tenants until 2 weeks after the governor lifts the state of emergency. Not the stay-at-home order, the state of emergency. All right, that's going to give them enough time. When the stay-at-home order gets lifted, I expect a bunch of them are going to go back to work and be able to recover. Okay, but not all of them. So we're going to wait till that state of emergency, and then we'll start 2 weeks after that. Then we'll say, okay, it's time to invoke that late fee. Utility payment assistance I talked about earlier. The utilities across the state are suspending disconnects, leaving utilities on, and they're waiving late fees. I do want to assure you that through all of this, tenants are still required and being reminded that they are responsible for all rent monies owed. There's no waiver or whatever, just a suspension in some cases. Okay. Here's what our response has been in our operations. For 3 or 4 days, we were shut down completely. But for 2 weeks prior to that, and now once again, we have started to renew our showings. And we've put into place certain protocols. Here they are. They're by appointment only, vacant property only, only 2 people maximum, and one of those is the property manager. And we're doing social distancing. In a nutshell, I'm telling our property managers, unlock the vacant unit, let the prospect in while you stay outside. After the prospect has come outside, keep 6 feet away, and now do our tenant screening from 6 feet away outside. I have much greater confidence in the outdoors that way. I'm also telling them, do not enter a vacant facility that has been occupied in the last 30 minutes. We're previewing a lot of property right now for owners, and some of those are owner occupied. We're asking anybody, just leave the property, go shopping, go for a walk or whatever, and just let everything settle for 30 minutes before we go in. We're doing limited maintenance. I forgot to add to this. Emergency. So yeah, we're going to address emergencies, of course. We're doing outside maintenance. Really, it's mostly just roof and gutter cleaning right now. We're doing turnovers in vacant units, following the protocols I described earlier. Oh, there it is, occupying. We're doing occupied properties, but again, only on emergencies. Here's our response on the accounting level, and this is maybe why you even came to this webinar, was to get the answers to this. As I mentioned, all late fees are suspended as of April 1. What we are suggesting and recommending to tenants is that they pay their rent prorated to the amount of income that they've got. So if they saw half of their income go down because they're on unemployment or have reduced hours, well, then pay half your rent, okay? We're handling each situation, though, on a case-by-case basis. We have just entered what I would call phase 2 of this crisis, where we're putting a clearinghouse together with our accounting division to keep track of all this and manage all of that. On April 1st, we sent out to all of our tenants a resident statement and proposed payment plan to all our tenants. And we asked them, if you think you're not going to be able to make rent in April, May, June, please let us know and fill out what happened and what you're expecting, so that that way we can get a better handle on what we're looking at. We're also sending out these resident rent invoice in lieu of a 14-day notice. So we can't, moratorium on evictions, we're not giving any 14-day notices for 120 days. So what we're doing is we're giving them little reminders. Dude, your rent's still due, and here's how much your bill is. So to just kind of remind them, so that when this is all lifted, it's not going to be a surprise. It's all about good and accurate communication. The reality is there's no evictions, so we really don't have any enforcement. So we say, you really ought to pay half your rent. And if they say, well, I'm sorry, but I'm only going to pay a quarter of my rent, we're going to say, good idea, because some money is better than others. All right, none. Excuse me while I wet the whistle. Full service property management has proactively already registered with the state for disaster relief funds. Remember that $45 billion, of which about $1 billion is going to come to us, for landlords for unpaid rent. So we're already in the queue, already in line early. And this is just how I spend my days nowadays. And I wanted to just relate, isn't it a great time to have a full-time property manager working for you? I want to tell you, whether you thought you were getting your money's worth before or after, I can assure you, you are getting it now. Because I don't know if you can imagine navigating through all of this stuff, because I can assure you, you probably could. I've been learning a lot on your behalf. I'm loving it, but oh my gosh. Here's what we can expect. March, we had really very little impact. All the March rent was paid by the time this stuff kind of really hit the fan. I'm thinking that April rents are going to be at about 10%, excuse me, that we're going to have a 10% impact. So 10% of our tenants, 10% of our rents will get paid in the, will not get paid. So 90% of the rents will get paid. I hope I got that clear. So we'll be impacted by 10%. I'm actually encouraged that might actually be on the high side, because on April 1st, we sent out that notice, that repayment, the notice, what would I call it again? It's brand new to us. Whoops. The resident statement and proposed payment plan. We only sent that out 2 days ago. I asked our property managers to kind of give me some feedback on what they're hearing, so I could update you with just the latest information. So, I got the last one about 2 hours ago. So that's how current this is. Originally, it was at about 2% impact. That has since risen to about 3.5%. So right now we're at 3.5%. I don't think we're going to stop there, but I don't think we're going to get to 10% for April either. I think these numbers are actually going to be a worst case scenario. I actually think we're going to be less. Judging from what I'm hearing and what I'm knowing, I got a feeling April is going to be closer to maybe 5 or 6% impact. The problem with that is that if it's your property, it's not 6%. It's going to be 50 or 100%. But this is just in terms of what the probability is. May is definitely where we're going to see a gnashing of teeth, where the April savings accounts have been used up and people are really starting to hunker down. And I think we're going to see a much higher subscription rate to that repayment plan. Again, I think 25% is probably a pretty robust. And then on June, at least in Washington State, a lot of people are going to be returning to work, I expect, after May 4th. And I do expect that we're going to see now things start to return to normal. I do want to tell you that April 1st, we sent out that statement and proposed plan. Also, prior to that, about a week prior to that, we had a tenant survey I put together just proactively to test the waters. But I told our tenants, I wasn't sure yet, because again, it's all morphing very quickly. I said, don't send it out, because I was afraid it might just be a get out of jail free card for the tenants. So I didn't want them to send it out. But send it out only to people that have responded, and said, hey, I think I'm going to have a problem here. And so we were already getting early indications. And to be honest with you, it was much better than I feared. So that's always the big problem, is fear is our worst enemy. I heard Dave Ramsey today make the recommendation, do not make, this is for your own personal benefit, don't make any decisions based on fear. All right, do your best to get rid of it. All right, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Here's my what I'm expecting. The forecast. I do expect, we had a real strong spring. I mean, it was, yeah, it was going. Our average vacancy time was under 30 days, which is kind of what the target anyhow. But we expect that there will be maybe a short slowdown for the next few weeks during this time when we're in a lockdown. People are obeying that, at least I hope they are. So for the next 2 to 6 weeks, yeah, we're still showing property and people are still looking at property. Surprisingly enough, a lot of them are nurses. But anyhow, we're just telling our owners, just expect longer vacancy times. Give us a little bit more time to get your property rented. We will get it rented. We just need a little more time. Once this thing gets past the critical stages and people begin to realize that there is life after COVID-19, we're still going to see increased demand. And there's several reasons. One is this coronavirus has really stirred up the pot. And we're seeing a lot of people moving around, changing jobs, stuff like that. And so I think you're going to see a lot of movement, and that's going to create demand for housing. We're going to see a lot of renters coming in just due to the stock market. I think a lot of people who are planning to buy in the next 3 to 6 months because of this dive on the market might have lost their down payment and now are going to have to enter the rental market for a while they reposition themselves. Last December, Amazon announced that they were going to hire 30,000 new jobs. This was before the coronavirus. So that number's got to be, I don't know what, 30,000 jobs in 6 different markets. One of those markets was Seattle. So figure 5,000 jobs here, roughly. That equates to about 12,500 to 15,000 new jobs, if you understand indirect impacts, in the Seattle market. And there was already a housing supply shortage before they announced it. So all of these things are coming to bear on this thing, and people, which is what's forcing people out in the stay-at-home order to look for property. And we are also expecting more renewals during this for the next 2 to 6 weeks at least, while people are kind of waiting to find out who's on first and what's on second. Wrapping things up, actually doing real good here on time. Want to announce to you, we decided to have a little fun with this and to help people out, owners out. I've only done this once before in our 8-year history, and that is we are having a sale. I tried on the word coronavirus sale, but that sounded just a little too morbid. So we're just calling it a sale. We're having a sale. Many of you out there are prospective owners checking this out for the first time. And others of you are owners who might have other rental property that you're either managing yourself or managing with other property managers. We are offering a $300 off or a $300 credit on your account for any new property that you bring to us between now and May 31st. So that's kind of cool. It's not bad for a day's work. I also want to make sure you guys understand we do have a referral program. So if you've got family members, co-workers, friends, people that you know that might benefit from our services, have them talk to us. We'll chat. We'll open up the conversation and see if we're a good fit for each other. And because we don't take everybody, but if we're a good fit, yeah, we'll be happy to help them. In my research, I found this asset protection plan. Our vendor offers it. It's, as best as I can tell, it's kind of umbrella insurance for renters insurance. It's paid for by the tenant that we can tack on. I don't know much about it yet. I'm still researching it. That's why the question marks are still there. I don't know if we're going to do something like that or not, but it would give 100,000 additional coverage to the tenant in the event of damage. I don't think it'll cover lost rent. I'm going to look into that some more. I don't know if we're going to do that or not, simply because we don't do a lot of trash outs. Our property, we have a really good tenant screening method. Yeah, it's not perfect, and we do get some trash outs, but we don't get many. So I'm not sure. That's undecided. And then the one that I'm really super excited to announce is our premium management plan. I've been wanting to roll this out for years, and I'm finally doing it. And it'll be probably in the next month or two. I may let this coronavirus thing blow over, but we are putting it together. I was working on it today. We are putting it together as we talk. I've been planning this for years. We've been working on it. We've had a lot of hours into it. And it comes from a deep-rooted source. When I've been managing property for 35 years for our own rentals. And I started this company, a ways back. And when I got into the industry of actually, fee-based management, I began to realize how archaic the whole industry is. I mean, I went into this one property management office, and it was a little house that was being used as an office up in Snohomish County. And it was just filled to the ceiling with paper. And they had these little old ladies working in there. It was really depressing. And I was like, took the keys because we were taking over the management for an owner. And I got out of there as quick as I could. And I realized just how archaic. And then it occurred to me that property management is really kind of a reactive kind of service as of right now. This whole industry is reactive. In simplistic terms, property managers to kind of sit around and wait for the phone to ring. They wait to see if the tenant paid their rent. If the tenant didn't pay their rent, then we get busy. Or we wait to see if something breaks in the house. And if something breaks in the house, we get busy again. Well, I've never been a reactive kind of person. I've always been forward thinking, at least I want to think I have been. And so this premium plan is going to be forward thinking. It's for people who understand and want premium management, forward thinking management, where there's going to be just reserve analysis and capital reserves, preventative maintenance plan is going to be is really going to be the cornerstone to it. We're just going to have a lot of stuff, eviction protection, just a lot of stuff. We're going to bundle that into one plan, and we're going to offer it. And I'm super, super excited about that. So look for that announcement in a property management company coming to you soon, because I'll tell you, in terms of forward thinking, I fully predict that in another 20 years, full service property management will have 75% of our clients will be on premium management. Partly because we will have refined it by then, and partly because the word will be out of how much more return on investment it can provide. I'm telling you guys, I've been doing this for 35 years to my own properties. It is incredible. So stay tuned. And then finally, here's some reminders. Oh, I forgot to mention. Like I said, I'm a good property manager, at least I think I am. Maybe not so good at webinars. If you guys have any questions about any of this stuff, start typing them in. We have a Q&A at the bottom of the screen or chat, and start sending them to Rachel. Rachel is then, we got a Q&A right after this. And I'll answer those questions online for everybody while we're at it here. And then after that Q&A, we're going to give some money away. But I do want to give you some reminders. If you're not following us on anything, now might be a good time. We are updating regularly on our Facebook page, and just search for us on Instagram at fullservicepm.com. We've got a blog, and we also have a YouTube channel. This webinar is being recorded, and it will be lifted into YouTube, uploaded, into YouTube, and I will probably embed it into the blog as well. And maybe we'll put it on the Facebook and Instagram. I don't know. We'll see. We'll just see what Rachel has up her sleeve, because she's my social media giant. Okay, so I think this is happy hour. I love happy hour. Q&A. And I'm going to ask Rachel if we have any questions before we give this some money away.
There's no questions.
Sorry?
I posted a comment earlier in the presentation to add questions in the chat box, but there are no questions as of yet.
Okay, cool. There you go. I'll take the polling off. Good. Okay. Well, I must have done a good job. I do want to share with y'all that if you have any questions after this, if you have any questions about the webinar, you can go back to the webinar and rewatch it if you want. I'm certainly available. Your property manager can certainly either answer the question or get me that question, and I will answer it. But we're here for you. First and foremost, guys, I want to reiterate again what I started out saying is this is going to be okay, all right? What you can expect is short-term, 2 to 6 weeks. You know, the money spigot won't have been fully turned on yet. So we're just going to have to all be patient and take a time out and all that. And then once that spigot is turned on, you know, we're all going to look back at it and go, oh, remember that coronavirus thing of 2020. So it's all going to be good. Just have faith, have patience. And what we've got is we want to give out 5 Amazon gift cards, $20 Amazon gift cards. I like to joke that Amazon is so slammed right now that if you order now, they'll deliver by June or July. But seriously, they are delayed, but they're not that delayed. But we're going to give out, I'm going to ask a question. And I don't know if it's hard or easy or not. We're going to find out here. And the first 5 people who can answer it correctly, we'll get a $20 gift card. If we don't have 5 answers, I've got a second question I can ask. And we'll keep going until we get them all away. So Washington State was admitted to the Union, I believe, in 1879. And when they did that, they created the Washington Administrative Code, which would dictate how business would be conducted in Washington State. By 1950, they realized that things were pretty outdated. If you'll recall, 1950 was the year that the transistor was invented. That transistor led way to the computer. That computer has made a few changes, I'd say, which includes this webinar. And so in 1950, they came up with a whole new Washington Administrative Code. Didn't throw the old one out, just changed and added to what they had, updated, if you will. And there's one particular chapter that is commonly called the Washington Landlord-Tenant Act. And my question to you is, can you name the name of that new set of books, if you will, and the article, the chapter and the article was commonly referred to as the Washington Landlord-Tenant Act. Okay. Let's go to Jennifer, who's at 12,400, and see if she got the answer right. All right, Rachel. I should say Rachel. Did anybody get the answer?
We have Angel that got the answer. It's RCW 5918.
Cool. Good job, Angel. Yeah, I used to think, because it's called the Landlord-Tenant Act, I originally thought that it was the residential code of Washington. It turns out it's the revised code of Washington, and it covers all kinds of crap. All right, let me keep going here. Can any of you name what year full service property management got into business? And if you want to add, I don't know, but we probably don't need a tiebreaker, but we'll use a month as a tiebreaker. And here, let me rewind this here. We'll go into Final Jeopardy. Okay, Rachel, you are sitting in second place. Did anybody get the right answer?
We don't have
2011.
So far.
What's that? Nope. Okay.
So far.
We're going deep here. I made the questions too hard. It is 2011. All right. Let me see here. I got to come up with something a little easier. All right. This may be kind of unfair. Can anybody guesstimate, and we won't extend this forever, anybody want to guess how many properties full service manages? To the nearest 100. Okay, anybody get anything close to 300?
We have one answer for 600.
Now that's close. Just one answer is all?
Just one.
Damn. Well, you guys, all right, let's give them one. We'll encourage audience participation. Come on, you guys. Any number would have been probably good in that, because I don't want to. We don't want to be here all night. All right. Well, you used up all my questions. I got to come up with another question now. I didn't expect to go 3 deep. I didn't know they were going to be that hard. Okay. Can you name which counties that full service manages in? Yeah. All right, did that do it?
Mr. Schwartz, Sam Schwartz said 5.
Hey, you said what? 5 counties?
5.
5 counties?
That's
no, we only have 2. Just King and Snohomish. All right. Boy, this audience participation. Let me see, what else is there? Hi, Sam, by the way. Let me see here. That's a bummer. I don't get a chance to see y'all. Maybe here, I'll do gallery. No, I can't see it. What else? Is there one, Rachel, can you think of one? I'm trying to think. All right, let's just end it with this. The first 3 people to send something to Rachel, and we'll send you, if your name isn't Angel or Sam, we'll send you a gift card. So let's see if that happens. Maybe everybody's muted, hasn't figured out where the chat button is. It's at the very bottom of the screen. Let me know how it's going, Rachel.
Pam said one of your properties that we manage, one of Sam's properties that we manage is in Pierce County.
Yeah, good point. So there's 3. We do manage in 3 counties. They would be King, Snohomish, and now, thank you, Sam, Pierce. There might even be a few properties in the Auburn area because Lakeland Hills is kind of Pierce King.
Technically, Sam could be right? What about your properties that we help manage over in Chehalis?
Oh, Lewis County and Oak Harbor. Oh.
5.
Oh, 5. Good job, Sam.
Oh, you're frozen there, Peter.
What's that? I missed that. Okay, is that everything? Do we have 5?
Yes, we do.
Cool. All right, guys. I want to thank everybody for showing up today at this webinar. It's our first time. Oh, one more poll, I think. Let me see here. Oh, no, let me see if I can click on this. There we go. I can't do it. I'm going to have to figure out how to, oh, there it is. So here's one more poll for you before you go. All right. And just let us know if this was a good idea or not. We'll see what we do. Be gentle. I want to thank you guys for coming. It's been a lot of fun sharing happy hour with you. And it looks like we're getting some positive responses. So I guess we'll do this again. Maybe we'll have another one next Friday with updates. It'll be maybe hopefully a little shorter because we've already been through all of the history stuff. And maybe we'll just open it up for a discussion too. We may just have a owners forum and owners can freely ask questions. So we'll explore some options, make this interesting. Want to thank you guys again for joining. I want to, again, don't worry. We're going to get through this okay, all right? We're going to be fine. You're going to be fine, partly because you have a good property manager. I hope you agree with that. And because we're all over this. So for now, thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your weekend coming up, and the rest of your happy hour.
Bye, everybody. Stay
Bye-bye.
safe and healthy.